Luca is a 2021 American computer animated coming-of-age fantasy comedy movie. In this video, I'll break down Luca, explain the ending as well as what's next for Pixar. Let's get started. The movie begins with some people trying to fish at night. They encounter a sea monster and leave. Then we meet Luca Paguro, a preteen sea monster who spends his days herding a school of fish. Luca's parents tell him that he can't go to the surface because the humans might murder him. One day, Luca meets another young sea monster named Alberto Scorfano. Alberto has been on the land several times, and he encourages Luca to follow him. Luca and Alberto transform to humans when they're dry. They go to Alberto's hideout in a small tower, where he has a bunch of human items. Luca sees a poster of a Vespa, which is an Italian scooter. Luca and Alberto spend the next few days trying to make a Vespa from scratch. Luca keeps his surface adventures a secret, but his parents eventually discover the truth. They send Luca to live with his uncle Ugo deeper in the ocean, but Luca runs away to the surface with Alberto, and together they go to the town of Porto Rosso. Luca and Alberto encounter the local bully Ercole Visconti. He's a 5-time winner of the Porto Rosso Cup. Ercole is about to dunk Luca into a fountain, which would reveal his identity as a sea monster, but a young girl named Giulia Marcovaldo comes to save Luca and Alberto. Giulia, Luca, and Alberto decide to team up for the Porto Rosso Cup. Giulia then takes Luca and Alberto to her house for dinner, where she lives with her one-handed father Massimo, who's looking to kill a sea monster. Giulia allows Luca and Alberto to stay in her hideout for the night. In the meantime, Luca's parents can't find him, so they also go to the surface to try and look for him. Massimo takes Luca and Alberto on a fishing trip so they can earn money to enter the race. We learn that there are 3 challenges in the Porto Rosso Cup race: swimming, eating pasta, and riding a bike through town. Giulia will swim, Alberto will eat the pasta, and Luca will ride the bike. Over time, Luca becomes closer to Giulia. She explains that she only spends the summer in Porto Rosso with her father, and during the rest of the year she lives somewhere else in Italy with her mother. Ercole is also suspicious of Luca and Alberto. Alberto is jealous of Luca and Giulia's relationship, so he reveals that he's a sea monster to Giulia. Luca keeps his identity a secret, but Giulia eventually discovers the truth when she splashes water on him. Luca finds Alberto sulking in his hideout. Alberto says that his dad left him, and he's been living on his own ever since. Luca decides to still enter the Porto Rosso Cup race alone. He wears a diving suit during the swimming segment to avoid turning back into a sea monster. It starts raining during the biking segment, but Alberto comes to help Luca. However, Ercole knocks Alberto's umbrella away, and his identity is revealed to everyone. Ercole throws a net at Alberto, but Luca goes into the rain to save him, which also exposes his secret. Giulia bumps into Ercole to prevent him from hurting Luca and Alberto, but everyone sees them. Massimo protects Luca and Alberto, and it turns out that they've won the Porto Rosso Cup. The townspeople realize that sea monsters aren't really bad. Luca is reunited with his parents, and it's revealed that the old ladies are also sea monsters. Luca and Alberto buy the broken down Vespa, but Giulia eventually has to leave town to go back to her mother because the summer is over. It turns out that Alberto sold the Vespa to buy a train ticket for Luca. Luca's parents actually arranged for him to stay with Giulia and her mother. Alberto chooses to stay in Porto Rosso with Massimo. Finally, the movie ends with Luca leaving. During the credits, you can see how Luca and Giulia are happy at school. Luca stays in touch with Alberto by calling him. Alberto is also happy staying with Massimo. Luca and Alberto show the other kids that they're sea monsters. In the post-credit scene, Uncle Ugo explains how living in the deep is a simple life. Overall, Luca is very similar to the 2017 movie Call Me By Your Name. However, director Enrico Casarosa said that this was not intentional, and Luca is about a platonic friendship in that kind of pre-puberty world. Luca is actually inspired by Enrico Casarosa's own childhood growing up in Italy. He and his friend Alberto would often cause a lot of trouble. Here's what he said: "My summers were spent on beaches. I met my best friend when I was 11. I was really shy and I found this troublemaker of a kid who had a completely different life. I wanted to make a movie about those kinds of friendships that help you grow up." While Luca and Alberto are based on real people, Giulia is a completely original character that was created for the movie. Emma Berman, the voice actress of Giulia, talked about this in an interview with Laughing Place.
Director Enrico Casarosa put out a tweet about how Giulia is an original character. The film is very much inspired by his personal childhood growing up in Italy. I was curious to know, working with him and knowing that this was such a personal story for him, what was it like kind of getting to help create the character of Giulia, who wasn't somebody he remembered from his childhood?
I mean, I'm just so grateful that he chose me to portray this incredible character. She's such a strong character who totally embodies what girl power is all about. And so I'm very, very grateful that I got to voice her. I knew that he related to Luca, that like this was his childhood story, really. He's not a sea monster, but
right. We think, at least. I've never seen him wet.
So it was definitely a little bit of pressure, creating this voicing for a Disney Pixar film, that's already exciting and just so big. And then it's such a personal story for him that I wanted to make sure that I did it all right. So all the notes he ever gave me, I was like, okay, Emma, you have to do it like this. Listen to Enrico.
Awesome.
It was very fun.
The sea monsters in this movie are based on Italian myths and regional folklore. Here's what the filmmakers have said. I always found the old sea monsters on maps really fascinating. The mystery of the sea was so represented in the weird creatures that we used to draw, and that area has a lot of wonderful myths. We were also a bit of outsiders, so it felt right to use sea monsters to express the idea that we felt a little different and not cool as kids. We always liked the idea that the metaphor of being a sea monster can apply to so many different things. There is a theme of openness, showing oneself, and self-acceptance, as well as community acceptance, confronting the idea that there's more to sea monsters than they realize. You know that they've only seen it through one perspective, one lens, and so I think that that's a wonderful theme in the film, which is that those ideas weren't right, and that there's more to learn. We hope that sea monster could be a metaphor for all manners of feeling different, like being a teen or even preteen, any moment where you feel odd. It felt like a wonderful way to talk about that, and having to accept ourselves first, whatever way we feel different. Furthermore, Enrico Casarosa explained how Luca pays homage to many classic Italian filmmakers, like Federico Fellini, and it also has a dash of Hayao Miyazaki in the mix as well. Movies like Stand By Me, Stromboli, and La Terra Trema were also major inspirations for Luca. There are a lot of characters in Luca who are outsiders, either by birth or by choice. Enrico Casarosa talked about this in an interview with Screen Rant. Here's what he said. I think my best friend and I always felt a little nerdy. I remember going through high school in Italy. You have a certain amount of classes and we were the last class. They go A, B, C, D, and we were L. And everybody made fun of L, because we were known to be the losers, because we had a lot of misfits and nerdy kids, and we always felt a little bit that way. We were slightly goofy. We were a little behind, a little more kid-like. We maybe were not very popular. So when I started thinking about being a sea monster and have something to hide, it felt very connected to that time. I also felt like before I met my best friend, there was just a little bit of loneliness. So not only did we want to make 3 kids who are feeling different, but also they were lonely, and there was a hole in their lives. Julia is odd, but she's also unapologetically herself, which is something that I love that she can teach Luca. She has vulnerability, but she's in their face. Underneath, she's lonely, and she's been really struggling with a bully. So I did love out of those 3 this loneliness and feeling different. Luca is also quite different from your typical coming-of-age story. Producer Andrea Warren explained what draws her to these kinds of movies. Here's what she said. We look back at those coming-of-age years in our own lives, hopefully with quite a bit of empathy. As an adult, you have that desire to go back and tell yourself and anybody else going through it who will listen, it's okay, you're okay. As a parent, you watch your kids trying so badly to fit in, yet what you want to preserve about them is what is special and unique about them, versus them trying to lose all the things that bring their own unique perspectives. There's this desire to tell stories that help inspire kids going through it to hang on to those aspects of themselves that make them who they are. Luca and Alberto are completely different characters in terms of personality. Jacob Tremblay, the voice actor of Luca, talked about this in an interview with Screen Rant. Here's what he said. It's cool how they're very different. I guess the dynamic is really good, cause in real life, I feel like when you see 2 best friends and it's always so random, like one super tall, the other super short. I remember my best friend was like way above me. So Jack Dylan Grazer voices Alberto in the Luca movie, and he also plays the character Freddie Freeman in Shazam. He talked about the similarities between Alberto and Freddie in an interview with Looper. Here's what he said. You know something? I'm kinda thinking maybe Freddie Freeman and Alberto Scorfano aren't too different. I mean, obviously Freddie Freeman can't jump from a cliff because he's on a crutch, but they're both very confident and they both have a lot of charisma, and their sense of humor is great, and they both think very highly of themselves, despite their insecurities, which is funny. Comparing being in a Disney Pixar film to being part of the DCEU is pretty similar, because they both have such long legacies, and I grew up idolizing both. All of these things that are happening to me, it's unfathomable. I would have never dreamed of these things. I'm so full of gratitude. Luca was originally meant to come out in theaters, but Disney canceled the theatrical release and decided to put it on their streaming service Disney Plus instead. The people at Pixar who worked on Luca were very demoralized, since Luca wasn't even a premiere access, and there wasn't an upcharge. Enrico Casarosa shared his own feelings about Luca going straight to Disney Plus in a Screen Rant interview. Here's what he said. The example of Soul was felt pretty positively. As a filmmaker, I got excited. Within the difficulty of not going to theaters. Theaters are wonderful, and the communal experience is something we're going to miss. But with the situation we're in right now, it didn't feel very safe to release in theaters, so I started pretty quickly seeing the glass half full here, because it felt exciting to, first of all, show it to families together, and to reach a lot of people. unbelievable. On another level, we put so much detail into Luca. This is what makes us wish to share it in the theater. I think what I love about seeing it on streaming is that you can rewatch it, and so there's another way to re-experience it. We put a lot of layers in there, and we pride ourselves on all those layers. I have moments in the animation of this movie where I'm laughing so hard because there's someone in the background doing something, and you're not going to see it on the first viewing. Visiting Porto Rosso has so many layers for us, so I'm looking forward to families being able to enjoy it multiple times. That's a wonderful plus. It's been part of our production. It's amazing. We've had to make this in the last year. We had moments where we didn't know if we could finish it in time, or do it all at home, and unfortunately it's impacting even our release, the current state of the world. So Pixar is known for their franchises, like Toy Story, Cars, and The Incredibles. However, they're choosing to prioritize making personal stories instead of sequels. Enrico Casarosa talked about this in an interview with Cinema Blend. Here's what he said: "Personal stories are so important because you need a connection to lead, and I think we have a lot of awesome new movies coming your way we're really excited about. The whole slate lately. I don't know that there was a change of awareness of, we're going to change the route here. There wasn't anything like that. It was just a sense of what sparks. So it really helped me as a new director, having experienced something, and having an instinct about what I was trying to tell. The story about my best friend and I, and how these kinds of friendships help us grow up. I pitched Luca at the beginning of 2016. First of all, I knew I wanted something in the setting of the Italian Riviera. I just love that place, and I think there's something really unique about my summers there, and then it was really about finding the right story for it. The other thing that I've always loved is about changelings. Someone who can appear a certain way, but then is really behind a facade. I love stories of foxes in Japanese folklore that can look human, but their true form is foxes. So those kinds of stories always fascinated me. And then also as a kid, in these little towns on the Riviera, my memory of it was always wondering and imagining, if there is more to these people around, is there more to the old man by the sea? There are several dream sequences in Luca. Andrea Warren also mentioned how they wanted to make the dream sequences different from real life so they would feel special.
I think another aspect that was really fun to capture is the dreams that Luca has. That was a place where we really leaned into how far could we push his imagination and how far could we push it to feel different than even the stylization of the film, so that they would feel separate and that they would feel special.
Additionally, in an interview with Black Girl Nerds, Enrico Casarosa talked about how there were a lot of culturally specific things that he wanted to include in the movie. Here's what he said: "The obvious one, of course, is how do you share the beautiful food, the beauty and taste for food. So even then I was like, okay, well, we've got to put focaccia. Focaccia bread is very specifically from the region. If you're Italian and you visit Liguria, you want to have some focaccia, so we wanted to make sure we did that. The villain is always having a focaccia sandwich together with espresso. I knew plenty of kids who were drinking espresso. I still remember that nowadays. That was kind of a strange thing, but that will be part of the story. Then, of course, the most obvious one is how do you animate an intense little girl who is Italian? We had huge long discussions about what kind of gesticulation and intensity she would have. It's quite specific and it is wonderful. It was important to not go into stereotypes, but to have that flavor. It's a unique thing. I hope that we can embrace it. In many ways, it's expressive opera. That's another one. I wanted to put as much opera in this. I grew up with that in my house, so we wanted to put some good Barbara of Seville in it. So what's next for Pixar? There's Turning Red, which is coming out on March 11th, 2022. The movie is directed by Domi Shi, who also directed the 2018 short film Bao. In Turning Red, Mei Li is a confident, dorky 13-year-old, torn between staying her mother's dutiful daughter and the chaos of adolescence, and as if changes to her interests, relationships, and body weren't enough, whenever she gets too excited, which for a teenager is practically always, she poofs into a giant red panda. Arya Kurzan will voice Mei Li. Then there's Lightyear, which is coming out on June 17th, 2022. The movie is directed by Angus MacLean, who also co-directed Finding Dory. Lightyear is a sci-fi action adventure, and the definitive origin story of Buzz Lightyear, the pilot who inspired the toy. The film reveals how a young test pilot became the space ranger that we all know him to be today. Chris Evans will voice Buzz Lightyear. What did you think of Luca? Let me know your opinion in the comments below. I personally thought it was pretty great. The animation quality was fantastic, and the voice acting was excellent. The story overall was quite compelling and interesting as well. Be sure to check out some of the other Ending Explained videos on this channel. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a future upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll